Hey guys, how's it going? It's me, Josh Halter, owner and founder of The BioDude. You can visit my website, thebiodude.com. Check me out on Instagram and Facebook. Of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel. And come to my store, The BioDude Houston, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. with our grand opening coming tomorrow on Saturday this week. And I'm so excited. What you guys see around you is actually my filming studio, and this is something that I'm in the process of redoing. So it is a little rudimentary, but it's a place to start. So this is the first of many videos slated for the end of 2020. I talked about it in my BioVibe video, and I'm really excited to share some things coming up with you guys. But you guys can see that I have an 18 cube in front of me, and today I am doing a how-to video on how to set up my Terra Aranea for a Brazilian White Tarantula, also known as Nhandu Coloratovitallis. It is actually commonly confused with the Brazilian red and white, and that's why you have your arachnid keepers really prefer to stick with the scientific name to prevent mixing up of species or subspecies. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a closer look here. Now this is a New World tarantula, and it will kick hairs, and it's called urticating when they kick the hairs out. Now you got to be careful with that because those hairs, if you would breathe them in, they can be a big time irritant to your whole respiratory system. So I always wear gloves. Depending on the species, if they really love to kick, I will wear a mask, and even if necessary, some people might wear goggles. I don't, but as long as you are comfortable with handling and messing with them when you need to, you'll learn the spider, you'll learn how they work, you'll learn how to interact with them. Excuse me, tarantula. My fault. But today I'm gonna get the bones. So an 18 by 18, I'm starting off with this size because we are a younger specimen. We aren't adult yet. Adults get around 6 to 6.5 inches. It is recommended for an adult tarantula of this size to be kept in about a 40 breeder, 36-18, to give them a good amount of space to be able to rock and roll. Now these guys are from Brazil and Paraguay, which means they like to have humidity. Not only will they climb a little bit, but they more like to spend their time on the ground being terrestrial, which means you want to have lots of different types of hides, lots of different types of different avenues for them to thermoregulate, deal with humidity as to help them in the shape and the molting process. So I have a ton of Terra Aranea right here. This is 36 quarts of it. So you guys know I only sell it in 3 quarts and 6 quarts. If I get enough demand and asking for it, I will start manufacturing it in the larger size, but that's only if people are going to ask. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my big bag of Terra Aranea, and I'm going to take some of my New Zealand sphagnum moss. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that right at the top here. And I'm using about 6 quarts of the sphagnum moss. Then I'm going to take some of my leaf litter, and what I have is a little bit of oak leaf litter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that, and I'm going to put this right at the top of the bag. And I'm also using about 6 quarts. Now, in front of me, I have this filled with a little bit of sparkless water. And I'm just going to give this a light misting, or light dousing. So the spag moss is going to absorb the water, and so is the Aranea. And what this is going to do, this is going to help give me a nice solid mixture within the substrate itself. So as you can see how the water is traveling down the bag, so I'm actually just going to use a little bit more. You don't need a lot. You just need a little bit to get everything jump started. While I'm mixing everything, since I am using 36 quarts of substrate, I am going to incorporate my BioShot. So I'm simply going to take my bag of BioShot, and I'm going to dump it right here on the top. So that way, when I dump everything in the terrarium, everything's already mixed together. It makes it really easy. So I'm going to get this, and I'm going to dump. Now, since we do like to burrow, I am giving a solid amount of substrate in here. So, as of right here, I used about 30 quarts. I'm gonna see how this looks with everything mixed in and see if I gotta add a little bit more. So as you can see, I'm getting everything mixed thoroughly. This is one of the most important parts when you're setting up your bioactive terrarium, is that you have your biodegradables thoroughly mixed in with the soil. Because what's going to happen is as your biodegradables are being slowly break down via the BioShot with the organic processes that we're implementing, they will also become microbial hotspots, which promote growth of beneficial bacteria and funguses. You can also use things like cork bark pieces, nut pods, palm pieces, all that stuff to help generate as much of a nutritional soil environment to promote your bioactivity as possible. So I put about another 3 quarts in here. I'm going to get this spread out. Okay, so I'm going to leave this level as it is, and then as we build, I'm going to add in more soil to go on top of the existing structures that I have to give us a little bit more of a level. So like I said, these guys are burrowers. So once in a while you might see them on top of a rock, climbing up bark or something like that, but they're going to spend the majority of their time burrowed and on the ground, hunting, preparing for molt, doing their thing. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take, I got some nice cork bark flax here, as you guys can see. Now what I'm going to do is start to create microclimates within the terrarium itself by submerging the cork bark to give different humidity levels within the substrate itself. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece of cork and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bury it right like that. And then I'm going to take this piece of cork and I'm going to take this cork tube right here. I'm going to go like this. And then I'm going to go like this. Now you guys can kind of see what I'm trying to do here. Multiple levels of different places to hide. Now, since we are burrowers, like I said before, I'm going to remove a little bit of it right here. And then I'm going to take the rest of my Aranea and I'm going to dump it right here in the back. There we go. All right. Now, again, I'm using a lot of substrate in this terrarium, and as my tarantula grows and we get ready for an upgrade, what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply take out this substrate, I'm going to transmit it over into the 40 breeder, and then use that to jumpstart the new substrate that I have to add into the 40 breeder. Again, the beauty of bio. So you can see right here, I have 3 different levels for hiding. So down in here, see how deep this goes? This is going to be the most humid hide available. So these guys like to have their humidity between 65 and 75%. So what you're going to notice with the Aranea, much like the Firma and the Sahara, is that it's always going to stay dry on the top, but moist in the middle and bottom layers. That is exactly how you want to promote it with this. That's going to prevent the bad bacteria from forming, which you guys know, that's the #1 killer of teas, is letting your soil, like EcoEarth or coconut fiber, absorb, which creates anaerobic bacteria, which outcompetes your aerobic bacteria, which then creates dead soil that is not only acidic, but also is very, very unhealthy, which can then cause health problems, respiratory, skin, fungal problems with your tarantulas. And that's why an important, a good aerating, burrowing substrate is a must when you're keeping any type of arachnid. And that's what we do here, the best care. So I like what we got rocking and rolling here. So I think the next thing that I'm gonna do is I wanna give us something that we can climb on, but that isn't too much of a dip. So I actually have this piece of wood here. Now, believe it or not, I actually got this from Galveston Beach about, I don't know, 5 years ago when I first moved down here. It's been cooked and disinfected. So I actually think I'm gonna put this, let me see here. I dig it. I like that a lot, actually. And it gives a little bit more of the character. I don't know if I like that or if I want to put this. I like that a lot better. I like that a lot better. So next I have a little bit of Aranea left. So I am going to add a little bit back here. So what I'm going to see here, blah, tongue twister, is there's eventually going to be a whole network of tunnels throughout here. held together via webbing, held together via just the soil doing its job, and that's what you want. You want burrows, you want tunnels, you want to see the tarantulas utilizing what your environment has to offer. That's the whole point of keeping them, is seeing what makes these animals so unique and providing them the tools to act like wild animals. So, I like what we got rocking and rolling here with the wood. Now I think it's time for plants. So, with tarantulas, you always want to make sure that A, the plants can handle a beating, B, the plants can handle a lot of webbing, which can inhibit growth. So they have to be really strong and get the correct nutrition to be able to generate ATP in their roots to grow. And that's why we have the BioShot and the BioVine. So with this species, I think I'm going to go with an arrowhead vine, a sansevieria, and a bird's nest fern to start. Now I like these because they're really easy to grow, and they're easy to trim, and they're sturdy. One thing I love about the snake plants is this one isn't that great of an example, but it will eventually. They have axils much like bromeliads, so these axils will hold water. Not only can that help you with your microclimate, it also gives them other alternate sources for water. Always provide your critters with options. Whether it's a lizard, whether it's a tarantula, you always want to make sure that they don't just have one water dish. It's always good to make sure that they have a couple different areas that they can, make sure that they stay hydrated. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to get this plant unpackaged out. So I am planting a bare root, as you can see. Now this plant, I think I'm going to put right here. Yeah. Okay. And I got the arrowhead vine. I'm going to put the arrowhead vine, I think, right here. Now, one thing that I see is this area back here is pretty shaded. That means I need to use a plant that doesn't need a ton of light. I can't think of a more perfect plant than this Dracaena right here. This plant is harder to kill than a pothos, in my opinion. And it grows in stacks, which is pretty cool, so it's really, really easy to trim. So I'm going to pay close attention to this. I'm going to see how it does. If it ends up not thriving, I'm going to pull it and move it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a nice little hole in the back here. I'm going to put this right here. There we go. All right. All right, I can deal with that. And then we got a bird's nest fern. Right here, between the two. Okay. I dig it. Okay. So, a couple things that I'm missing. A, I'm going to add in some springtails, and I'm going to add in some isopods. Now, with tarantulas, scorpions, when they go through, and spiders, when they go through the molt stage, that is their most vulnerable point in their life. Every molt, they are vulnerable. So when you have a lot of insects in their terrarium, such as larger isopods, such as your scaber varieties, it is said in the community that they can overly stress out your tarantula or scorpion during that molting process. So if you are going to use isopods with your tarantulas, I highly recommend you stick with a microspecies. So, for example, your dwarf whites, your dwarf purples, they are very, very, very good candidates for that in your more humid biomes. But when you're dealing with desert, you're probably just going to want to rock and roll with just springtails, because there aren't very many isopods here available to the hobby that are on the micro level that can handle that arid landscape, such as for a desert hairy scorpion or something like that. So I am going to be implementing some dwarf whites, some dwarf purples in here, and I'm going to be watching the population very closely. I'm also going to be getting some tropical springtails in here. So this is how I offer my springtails. As you guys know, this is what you can expect a culture to look like. Nice and healthy, and all I'm going to do, I'm dumping this entire culture in here, and then I'm going to mix it up. And then for the isopods, let's see here, got a little bit of that. I'm going to dump them right in. And you can see them right here. Here's a bunch of dwarf purples crawling in there. Let me move some of that. Nice, healthy little population there. So I do expect the dwarf purples to take over, but I am going to keep the population in check. If in the event that you notice there's too many isopods and you think they're bothering your spider, really easy. Put a piece of apple or a piece of fruit, such as banana in there. Or my bug rub, if you have some at home. Get a little container like this, put that ball of bug rub right in the middle. Put the fruit right in the middle. The isopods and your cleanup crew will swarm it. You simply then pick it up and remove it. And then boom, that eliminates some of the excess population in your terrarium. So I got 4 plants in here, multiple places to hide. What I want to add next are some other types of some seed pods, and I'm also going to add in a water dish. So here I have one of the Extra Terra small water dishes. This is actually the extra small, and I'm going to try this out, and I'm going to see how it works. And the reason that is I'm going with such a small one is a lot of times with how they web and stuff like that, these are a little bit deeper. So even if they kind of get webbing all over it, it's still, the webbing isn't going to absorb all the water out of it, if that makes sense. So I like to make sure that I use a little bit of a deeper one. Now I'm going to put that right down here into the, actually in the front right here in the corner, so it's easily accessible. And then I'm going to get a couple nut pods here that I got, which I know this one's going to be really popular with this spider. So the first thing I have is one of the Buddha nut pods. You guys know these are really popular. But what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to put this nut pod, I'm going to put it kind of right here, right like this. Now I'm doing this for a reason. You notice how this little hole right here? Now our little one, she's going to be able to fit her body right up in here and be up inside here and completely covered. This is going to be one of the driest parts of the terrarium, but at the same time giving her even more options to be able to feel secure. Then next I have some pod heads, and I'm gonna take the pod head, and what's nice about these actually hold a little bit of water, and I'm gonna put that here. And then I got a couple other types of pods here. Got a bur oak and Brata barbados, and I'm gonna spread those around. And you're gonna notice that the bugs are gonna swarm them and slowly break them down. And then I think the only other thing that we're missing is some live moss. So again, since we are from Brazil and Paraguay, this is not uncommon that we might run into moss or something like that. Okay, I got like that there. And I'm gonna put this right here. Yeah? What do you think of the moss from the top right, or do you think I should pull it? Like right here. That's better. There we go. I like that a lot better. So again, I'm really gonna watch this Dracania back here. Make sure that this plant isn't, or that this log isn't gonna inhibit it too much, but I don't think it's gonna be a problem. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give this a solid misting. So my overall daily routine with this is we're going to be hooked up to a mist king. So it's going to go off once a day for about 15 seconds. And then from there, I'm going to be monitoring the temperature and the humidity using my digital thermometer hygrometer. And what's nice about this is it has a probe that you can put literally anywhere. So you can be double checking your microclimates very easily. And I am going to be lighting it, of course, with my solar grow. If you don't want to use my solar grow, you can also use my glow and grow, which is my LED model. This is your more affordable option, and I just like to have everybody be aware of what we have. And then giving this just a nice misting, getting the water bowl filled. I will be feeding this guy crickets, on the occasional, potentially some other soft-bodied insects whenever we are available. And since we are a female, we really don't have to worry about the shorter lifespan that you get with the males. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. It's simple, but gives my tarantula lots of different options. So people are going to ask me, so besides wearing gloves and making sure you don't, if they decide to kick hairs, is there any other precautions you should take? Only other precautions, you don't want to get bit. Because, just in the event that, while this might not be a deadly bite, if you would have an allergic reaction to it, like if you're allergic to bees or something like that, you're going to have a bad time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break the lid right like this, and I'm going to put the container right here, and I'm going to close this, so I'm going to close this off right like this. I'm going to open up the container. Let me get the other side closed, and then let's get you Let's get you in here. Let's get you out. Let's get you out of this container. Go, go. Oh, you are so cool. Look at you. Now, what's really neat is you can see the fangs right at the front, and you can see how hairy we are. So again, a lot of people confuse this species with the Brazilian red and white because the Brazilian red and white looks very similar to this, but it's much fuzzier than what this species is. So go on, go, 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 baby, go, go. She's like, I don't want to. I like my container. Get out of the container. Go. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna dump this. Oh, that works. I'm so sorry for messing with you. Here you go. Go. Away with you. There we go. I dig it. So again, we're gonna see how we do in here, and I will be upgrading to a larger enclosure once it's necessary. But this is just an example of one of the things that you can do with the Aranea. Now, like I said, the Aranea doesn't use a drainage layer. So it's really, really important to make sure that you're maintaining those humidity levels in accordance to the animal in which we're taking care of. And again, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. My name is Josh Halter. I am the owner and founder of the BioDude here in Houston, Texas. Please come by my shop and you can actually see this little girl in person, as well as see the rest of my showroom. I really appreciate everybody's continued support, and I really look forward to doing a lot of great videos this year. 2020 is going to be an awesome year, guys. The dude abides.